Hey everybody, welcome back to the Queer Collective podcast. My name's Karbon and welcome to the show. So if you're new to the podcast and new to the channel, you might not know this, but for any of you who have been listening to all the previous episodes, I tend to keep every single episode, every podcast, my Instagram, and just my life in general very lighthearted, as well as just funny wherever I can be funny. And overall, I would like to say that for the majority of the time, I do keep a very positive outlook on life and every situation that comes my way. However, with that being said, I am, of course, still human with lots of emotions, sometimes all over the place, and that is actually going to be our topic of the day, is mental health. So we're going to get a little bit deeper here, and we're going to get into what my mental health was like before COVID, how quarantine impacted it, and where I am right now. So let's start from the beginning, if you will. So from the beginning, which was my workplace actually officially shut down March 16th. So the beginning of quarantine and self-isolation started March 17th. So, it's been quite a bit now. It's been over a month, and there's been highs and there's been lows. So let's start with how I felt the very first time that we shut down. So the whole time that quarantine was starting to happen, the buzz about all of the COVID-19 numbers happening in China, going over to the States, coming over to Canada, which is where I currently live, coming over to Toronto, all of that stuff, all of it. While I was still at work, I proceeded with life as normal. I feel like a lot of us also did. I feel like for the majority of us, I can only speak for myself, but I feel like for a lot of us, quarantine and COVID in general didn't really hit until we went through an official lockdown. So initially, I was one of those people that was like very cocky about it. I acted like I didn't care, and for the most part, I was kind of making fun of people that were taking it too seriously, or at least too seriously from my perspective and my opinion at that time. So when it first hit and people were starting to self-isolate and quarantine and shut down their offices, I was like, there's no way it's going to happen to my work. We're solid here. Like, we should definitely stay open. I didn't even believe in closure. I didn't believe that any workplaces should be closing. I believed that everybody should go about life as normal, and I don't know, I guess just kind of hope it doesn't hit them. But that I realize now that was very unrealistic, especially with how deep into quarantine we currently are. So the thing is that everybody that was either a political figure or just a public figure in general was also treating it pretty lightly. Therefore, I felt like there wasn't really a need to panic or a need to take it too seriously. So initially, I was very cocky. Initially, I was, telling everybody that this is something that's just gonna like subside very, very soon, and that everybody's over panicking, they're over worrying, they're taking way too many precautions. And that was kind of my outlook in the beginning. So when my workplace officially closed down and I had to go home and start working from home, which eventually led to being laid off so I could apply for unemployment benefits, and the company could, still stay afloat, or at least that's the plan, when everybody is allowed to go back to work and reopen. So initially when my workplace closed, I think that was my first, I don't know, I guess slap in the face of this is real. And before that, it didn't really seem real. So my workplace closing down was officially my introduction to like, this is life now. This is real life, and you're part of it now. So many times, no matter how much we try to sympathize with other people, with situations that, another state or country or just another group of people is going through, as much as we try to sympathize as humans and as good as we try to be, I know that for myself, as good as I try to be as a human being and as much as I try to sympathize with other people, you don't truly, truly know what someone is going through until you go through it yourself. And even then, you still have your own version of it, even if it's the same situation. No matter what, you have your own version because you're an individual, right? So you don't go through the same emotions or even the same scenario that somebody else goes through, even if you're going through the same global situation, right? So let me give you an example. When Australia had their fires, when the Amazon had their fires, some of those fires are still going, but when it was like, I don't know, I guess a big deal in the media, I was like, wow, this is horrible. This is absolutely terrible. Like, something has to be done. And I was really trying to the best of my ability, sympathize with everybody that was being affected by it, especially the environment and the animals. But because I'm not someone who currently lives, for example, in Australia while they had their fires, or even in the area, I cannot, as much as I would like to sympathize, I cannot truly feel what they feel. I cannot truly know what they're going through or even fully sympathize what they're going through, because I'm not going through it myself. So that was kind of my entire take on this COVID situation. And because of it, the first real hit or real impact that it had on me was when my work closed. Now, I'm lucky enough to, first of all, have that be my first real impact. Another possible first real impact could have been that one of my friends or family members or just someone that I know personally had it, and that could have been my first impact. But thankfully, everybody that I know has been safe, stayed safe, hopefully will continue to be safe, and it won't, the virus won't get to them, won't affect them. But so I'm lucky enough that I don't know anybody like personally with COVID. So thankfully that wasn't my first real impact. So it really was just my work shutting down. And the reason that it hit me so hard when we officially shut down was because through all of my years working there, I never ever once pictured a closure. I never once pictured them shutting down for any reason. Like, this is a clinic. If you don't know, if you didn't watch my last podcast, I work at a manual therapy clinic called Myo Detox. We have a couple locations in Toronto, some in Vancouver, one in LA, more to be coming soon, after everything is kind of over. I don't even know what to call it. But the point is that I never pictured a closure. If like we were starting to grow like crazy, we were just expanding and expanding and expanding further, and there was no end to the expansion in sight, at least not for the foreseeable future, for the foreseeable couple of years coming. So the fact that we closed was just like a big slap in the face. It was like, okay, you're in this now and this is real. And because of it, initially for the first 2 weeks of self-isolation and quarantine, I felt so bummed out because the thing that gave me work, the thing that gave me tasks, the thing that gave me a purpose as well, in its own way was gone, right? So the thing that I spend the majority of my day, almost every single day doing, all of a sudden was just gone. And that hit me hard. It really did, because I am the type of person where every single day, I kid you not, every day, whether it's the weekend or not, I need something, some sort of project or a task or something to do in order to feel like I have purpose and that I am fulfilling that purpose. That's actually why I started this podcast, was because I felt so empty. I felt so empty once I lost my job, man. Like, even while I was working from home for a little bit before I like officially lost it, I felt so empty and purposeless every single day for 2 weeks, for the first 2 weeks that this was happening. And I was so like affected by it. My mood was just like all over the place. I was feeling very depressed. I was feeling very bipolar. It was quick, like that. Quick to snap. If you literally just like looked at me wrong, all of a sudden I was like super emotional. And the thing about it was that I didn't even experience anything that bad. Like, I had my job. The clinic closed down and I kept my job for about, I think it was like 2 weeks after we officially closed. And then after those 2 weeks, I lost it, but immediately got on Canada's relief program, which gave me a very similar monthly salary and, you know, a little bit less, but more than enough to live, you know? So I didn't experience it, like in hindsight, I didn't experience anything that bad. However, it was just like the shock of being so used to doing something every single day and all of a sudden not having that thing. So I really had to dig deep within myself of like, okay, now that I don't have that, what am I going to do to replace it? What am I going to do to replenish it? What am I going to do to continue to live my purpose as much as I can in a completely different way? What does that look like? You know, how am I redefining that purpose? And that's actually what my first podcast episode is all about. And I asked the question to the viewers and to the listeners, if you're on a podcast app, is now that your main either source of income or your main passion or your main whatever gig is gone, how are you either redefining your purpose if you found purpose in that, or how are you now trying to create it, trying to find it, trying to realize it, I should say. And that's no easy task, in my opinion, or at least in my experience. It took me a long time to even define what I think my purpose is, which, by the way, I will tell you, it is corny for sure, or at least, you know, it might be to some people, but it's very real to me. I feel that my purpose is to inspire people to do things that they did not believe that they were capable of. That's what I feel is my purpose. So I was really, really trying to do that at my job with being a manager. And now that I wasn't able to directly in person influence people, I had to start thinking of ways where I could still do that to some extent, or maybe even a greater extent if this podcast really takes off eventually, which I have faith that it will. But I really had to think about like, okay, if you feel that that's your purpose, then how are you going to fulfill it? How are you going to supplement that void that you're feeling? How are you going to, that void, think of it as like an actual like valley or whatever, or like some sort of like, I don't know, thing. Let's just go with void. So that void, how am I going to fill that back up so that it can be nice and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Was just it was really hard mentally for me how to redefine that purpose that I had actually just recently even defined with words. Like before then, it was mostly just like a very confused feeling. So the fact that I was able to write it down on paper and be like, okay, this is my purpose, and I feel really, really good about it. Just the fact that I had done that not too long ago, literally like just a couple months ago, was a big deal. And then all of a sudden, I feel like I have no way of fulfilling it, and I have to come up with something else. And, I started the podcast. I started getting more creative. I started I started filming the garage videos, which you can find on our YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description as well, of course. And I started to create more. I'm writing down like, okay, what else can we do for Queer Collective? New segments. Like I started to dance, which actually has been the hardest thing for me to do. And that's my burning passion, dance. And I got so caught up in thinking that the only way for dance to have meaning is for me to share it with other people. And the fact that I didn't have people to share it with anymore really took a toll on me. I recently talked to a friend and one of my mentors who told me that I need to really realize I don't know how to word this like with words, but that I need to realize my sense of self within the craft. And that might not make sense for a lot of people, but it made all the sense to me. And that is what I am now trying to do, is to really find a sense of self within my craft. Now, I understand that this has like so many like hidden meanings in it that not many people will probably catch, but it's okay. Like that's one of those things that is truly just for me, and for me to know what it means and realize. So yeah, mental health. It's been a lot of ups and downs, and recently I had another, I don't know, I guess you could call it a meltdown. Maybe another episode of feeling low. But here's the thing, is that after those initial 2 weeks where I felt low, I felt lost, plenty of tears were shed during that time. After those 2 weeks, once I started to realize that I can impact people in other ways, one of them being through this podcast, once I did that, I started to feel happy again, and I started to feel like my life has meaning. I started to feel like I have purpose. I started to feel like I can have a positive outlook on the world again. And I started to feel like this negative thing that came our way, literally globally, can be turned into a positive. It's just perspective, how you look at it. And not just how you look at it, but also what you do with it. Like, if you think about it, we all are in if not the same, a very similar situation right now. And that's so rare for that to happen, not just, nationwide, countrywide, but globally. Like, it never or at least not that I know of, never in the history of everness have we experienced a global shutdown of the entire world, which, in a sense, really levels out the playing field when it comes to a lot of things. One of them being like with Queer Collective, right? Like Pride being canceled and all these events being canceled. And all of a sudden, I now have significantly more time throughout the day. Those 8 hours that I would spend at work, I now can spend working on Queer Collective, which is not an opportunity that I thought that I would get for a long, long time. So now that I have this, and now that we all have more time on our hands, it's really about what you want to do with that time. You can either create something better than you've ever had before, or You can choose to, I don't know, I guess, sit on the sidelines and watch other people do that. Watch other people create something that they never have before. Watch other people rise to the occasion. And it sucks. It sucks knowing that, because it's either truly really one or the other. Either you push yourself to create more because now you have more time and fewer excuses, or you sit on the sidelines because either your mental health has really affected you very, very heavily, or maybe you just don't want to. And I go through phases of back and forth. I mostly try to be in the create something better than you ever have side, but there's some days that I definitely fall under, it's overwhelming. I can't do it. I'm overwhelmed by my emotions. I'm overwhelmed by my environment, by the situation. And I feel like many of us are going through that. So it's important to talk about it. Another point that hit me really, really hard was actually my mom's birthday. It was recently my mom's birthday, this month in April, and I wasn't at home to celebrate with them, which is something that we've always done. And I even looked up on Google Maps how long it would take me to bike there. Is way too long, by the way. It's 7 hours. That's a big fat no from me. But I thought about it, and not just that, but normally it wouldn't be a big deal. Normally I would just get on public transit, take the GO bus, take the train, take the Greyhound bus, whatever, and get there and celebrate together. And that didn't used to be a big deal. Little things like that, of just being able to go home, I took for granted. I haven't seen my dog in a really long time, and I miss him like crazy. I miss my entire family a lot, and my dog like crazy as well. And it's something that I didn't think would happen. I was so used to just going home whenever I wanted. I never once thought that I wouldn't be able to. I never once thought that public transit would be a risky thing to do. I never once thought that I would be putting myself, my roommates, and my family in danger by hopping on a bus. That's kind of insane. And for all of those emotions and all of those realizations to hit you all at once is a lot to handle emotionally. So I got very overwhelmed. I just, from the moment that I woke up, I was just a mess. I was crying. I tried meditating. It worked for a little bit, and then I went back to crying. And, eventually I kind of just submitted to the day. I submitted to the ugliness of the day. And it was on the day that I felt that, it was also gloomy and rainy. So it just all of it put together, it was just a whirlpool of emotions. I submitted to the day by getting ice cream and getting cookie dough and just eating those two and watching movies all day long. And normally, a lot of people tend to feel guilty about these things. If you're guilt-free, then good on you. I feel like you should be. You are, by the way, anything that I'm saying, you are allowed to feel any way that you feel and do anything that you feel is right for you. No one thing is the right thing, in my opinion, at least. But that to me, watching movies all day long is not my normal behavior. It's not something that I often allow myself to do, even on weekends. On weekends, if I'm not working on something Queer Collective related, then I am either working out, I am dancing. I find some sort of tasks or multiple tasks that give my life and my day purpose and meaning. So I always try to look for that every single day. And on the day where I just felt like crap the whole day, I didn't do that. And I feel like that was the right move. And like I mentioned, everybody's very, very different. And there's so many people that are fighting the two sides. there's so many people that are saying, like, if you're not taking advantage of this time, then you're crap. Like, you're wasting your life, you're wasting your time. And they kind of like put down the people on the other side who are like, hey, by the way, if you've been affected by this and your mental health isn't where it normally is, then that's okay. Like, it's okay to not be working out every day. It's okay to not do something creative. It's okay to not, for example, be working on a new project or a new business or whatever venture. It's okay to do that. And I agree for both. It really just depends on the individual. And I tend to go back and forth between both, to be honest. I don't think that there's like, you're either on one side or the other kind of thing. I feel like everybody feels the lows. And if you don't feel the lows, I don't know what's going on there. You're going to have to give me the secrets. Either you're really, really good at controlling your emotions and you're really, really good at being positive, or you're just ignoring everything and bottling it up or something like that. So I personally think that is perfectly okay to be productive, be creative, and, be healthy and active. And it's also totally okay to have crappy days and eat ice cream and watch movies all day long. Sometimes that's just what it takes for you to just feel your emotions, face them head on, and allow yourself to have those crappy days so that maybe the next day it'll be a really, really good day, which did happen for me. And I feel like sometimes if you're having a really crappy day and you try to push yourself to be productive and be creative and work on a project or work on a task or work out or go for a run or whatever, sometimes when you push yourself and you force yourself to do those things, it'll actually make you feel worse. Maybe you're having a really crappy day and it's just one of those days where that you just need to submit to the day and just kind of lounge all day and just kind of have the crappy day and like allow it and have those tears and allow those and have those emotions and just allow them to, I don't know, just like, feel what you feel. Allow to feel what you feel. And sometimes when you have all of those emotions and all these overwhelming feelings and scenario in your place, to force yourself to do something productive or work out or whatever can be a bad thing for you on that day. So say, for example, on the day that I was feeling really, really crappy, I forced myself to do a workout. I know that on that day, I definitely would have had a very crappy workout as well. If I had pushed myself to do a podcast, it would have been terrible. If I had pushed myself to dance, I would literally just like listen to music and be upset with myself that I'm not able to dance and then just go back to bed even more upset than how I was before. So sometimes you need to allow yourself to feel your emotions, to eat the ice cream if you're into that, to watch the Netflix, whatever show you want to binge watch, and just have those days. Sometimes you need to just have those days. So I think that it is perfectly okay to have those bad days and just kind of allow them in low key and, let yourself feel. Let yourself feel fully, dedicate the day to it, and then go back to being productive and working on your passion and fulfilling your purpose. Sometimes you need those bad days. I will share with you some things that I have done to try to make the majority of days really, really good days. And I have 5 things that I've done and that I continue to do in order to try my absolute best to have a productive day, a positive day, an active day, a fun day. Like, what's the point of in quarantine trying to be productive yet still being miserable? Like, that is not at all what I think that this should be about. I think that if anything, if you're trying to be productive and you're trying to be fulfilling your passion, then you should absolutely have fun doing it. So here, the 5 things that I've done is, 1, trying to maintain a morning routine. And that has actually pivoted since quarantine started. I've actually taken away some things from my previous morning routine and added some things from my previous morning routine. So morning routine, very, very important. On top of that morning routine, I also try to wake up still fairly early. And when I say early, I don't mean like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I wake up around 8 a.m. ish. Sometimes I'm really tired and I wake up at 9. On the day that I felt really, really, really tired, I woke up at like 11 on the crappy day. I just went back to bed. I was like, I don't care, which is okay. But I try to wake up at around 8, sometimes 9 if I'm really tired. And keeping this consistency has actually really, really helped me, because I know personally for myself that if I was allowing myself to wake up at 10, 11, noon, 1 p.m., I would be so disappointed. I would feel like the entire day was wasted and might as well just wait for the next day. And because I know myself, and because I know that I feel like that when I wake up later, I try not to allow it. I set an alarm, I wake up at 8 or 9, and from there I have a more positive outlook, because I know that the day is going to last longer, and everything that I want to get done, I can get it done because I committed to waking up early. So morning routine and waking up early. Morning routine and waking up at a consistent time. It doesn't have to be super, super early. Find out what works for you and apply that. I think that the key here, no matter what actual time that you choose to wake up at, is to keep it consistent. So consistency is key, and it's really, really going to help not just in your either productiveness and getting things done, but also in your mental health. And the reason that this helps with mental health is because you've already won the morning by waking up at the time that you wanted to wake up. You've already won the morning, and that's your, like, as soon as you wake up, you have your first win. That just kind of sets the mood for the rest of the day of you're going to continue on having more wins. So I would highly, highly recommend to just choose a time and then keep it consistent. Consistency is key here. Second thing that I've been doing is actually journaling. So this is something that I used to mock. This is something that I used to think that I was too good to do. This is something that I thought was for people that were overly emotional, and just, something that I definitely kind of made fun of and did not enjoy whatsoever. Anytime that some sort of counselor or a therapist or whatever asked me to journal, I was like, I'm not doing that. There's no way. Like, it just doesn't work for me. I won't even try it. Give me something else, right? So I kind of threw all of that out of the window, and I decided, hey, why not start journaling? I got time. So why not, right? Strangely enough, something that I thought would happen before if I started journaling was that it was going to take up too much time, which it does not at all. I guess it depends on how much you want to journal. For me, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes. I write 1 page of how I'm feeling that morning, of what I want my day to look like, of what I'm excited about, what I'm thankful for. And if I have some sort of like concern, a worry, some sort of negative emotion, I put it down on paper to try to get rid of it as well. So writing down the things that I'm looking forward to really puts into perspective how the day could look like, how positive it could look if I do those things, and if I keep that perspective. And then also writing down a negative thing or some sort of negative emotion that I'm holding in is a way also for me to release that emotion. So The second thing that I've been doing is journaling. I've been doing it every single day. And it's been over a month of doing it. So I guess I officially built up the habit, since they say it takes like 21 days, I think, to build a habit. So I've officially built up the habit of journaling every single morning. I get my coffee, I have my journal, and I journal while I drink my coffee. It's a beautiful thing. So the third thing that I've actually been doing is going on morning walks or some sort of morning light activity. For example, today was a little bit more intense. I went on a long bike ride with Emily and Yusuf, who's a roommate. So my roommates and I went on a bike ride. We biked from where we live, which is College and Ossington area-ish, and biked down to High Park. And then once we got to High Park, we just like walked around. We walked some of the trails. We saw the lake. We climbed a tree. It was beautiful. And that really set a positive, like, momentum. It gave me definitely a positive momentum and a positive push to make the rest of the day positive. Now, if you don't have a bike, or you don't like biking, or you just don't feel like it, I would highly, highly recommend going on a morning walk. It can literally be around the block one time and that's it. But A, it helps you wake up. B, it gives you some sunshine and some fresh air. And C, it gets you moving, like literally, but also figuratively, mentally, all of the above. Going on a morning walk really makes you feel like, okay, I've gotten over the grogginess of the process of waking up, and I'm ready to just go. I'm ready to create. I'm ready to work out. I'm ready to literally do anything. Like, when I go on my morning walks, when I come back for it, I'm like, all right, let's do this. What else have we got for the day? Let's go. So that's something that has really positively impacted my life and has allowed me to start my days on a positive foot, literally. Putting the right foot forward, literally. And so I would highly, highly recommend you do some sort of morning thing. It doesn't even have to be a walk, to be honest. Like, you could do just like morning stretches or a morning ab workout. That's a little bit more intense, but yeah, a morning stretch, a morning walk, a morning workout, a morning bike ride, whatever you got going on, whatever you're capable of doing, whatever that is within your means, I would highly, highly encourage it. The fourth thing that I have been doing in order to better my days is actually exercising daily. Now, like I mentioned, on the really, really crappy days, I don't exercise. Those are, by the way, those are rare. Those are few and far between, but they still exist. So it's important to acknowledge them. However, I don't have crappy days every day. I don't even have them every week, or every couple of weeks. So it's important to know that, but also it is still important, even though those crappy days are rare, it is still important for me at least, to do all of these things that make me feel good, because that will help prevent even more crappy days, or at least that's the plan. And so far it's worked pretty well. I've only had crappy days 2-3 times, something like that, which is pretty good considering that we've been in this for over a month now. And so I've been exercising daily. I've split the workouts into different body parts. So for example, I do 1 day arm workout, 1 day leg workout, 1 day chest, back, shoulder, abs, etc. And I try to get some cardio in there as well. And it's gone so well. Like, I'm seeing progress. I'm seeing some results. My body's looking better. My energy is better as well. And also, I've turned it into a social thing with my roommates. So I gather my roommates, some of them, not all of them, but I gather some roommates. I take them to the backyard, which is where I have like the home gym set up, and I take them through the workout as well, which makes it more fun, more engaging, and keeps them on track as well, which is just a bonus. If you don't have roommates to do a workout with, I would encourage you to just get some sort of exercise in, whether it is a home workout using literally just your body. Like, you don't really need equipment when it comes to exercising. You can literally just use your body. You can do some sort of follow some sort of video. I do that for abs for sure, because I hate doing abs. Therefore, I need someone to just move me along. Or you can make your own, whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel is best for you. The fifth thing I've been doing is actually cleaning. So this one's not exciting. This one's not sexy at all, but a clean room is. Clean room is very sexy. So I've been cleaning, and I've gotten my girlfriend into it as well. Like, every single morning, I make sure that the room's clean. I make sure that the bed is made. If there's a dirty kitchen, I make sure that I clean it. If there's a dirty living room, I make sure that I clean it. Like, I just make sure that as much as possible is clean. And the reason that I do this is because it's so easy to leave things for the next day. But then the next day, you leave more things for the following day. And then the process goes on and on. And the thing about it is that when you're in quarantine, when you're stuck at home, when, if your workouts are at home, your work is at home, if you're a dancer, your dance is at home, everything is at home. There's nothing worse, and there's nothing that feels like the least productive as a dirty space. A dirty space is something that is really going to have a domino effect of you feeling less and less productive, less and less positive, and less happy. So I would highly encourage you to have a clean space. If you have roommates, ask your roommates to also keep the space clean. I myself have, because it is very, very important to me. It's important to me to keep a clean space, because not only do you feel more calm and more at ease within a clean space, but you also feel more in control of your day and more in control of your future. Now, the reason that is, or at least that I think it is because you have no control over this global pandemic. Like, you only do as much as you can do by sanitizing, wearing masks, keeping a distance, etc. But you have no control over, for example, your work reopening. You have no control over people recovering and getting better. You have no control of whatever decisions the government makes and imposes upon us. However, cleaning your room and cleaning your place in general just gives you this sense of control of okay, I control this. My space is now clean. I feel not just in control, but I also feel more calm. I feel more positive. I can now do everything else, like work out or dance or go on a bike ride and come back to a clean room, or work on my project now because I am in control of my future. And I think that this is a very, very big mental enabler, I think is what it's called. You're allowing yourself to feel more mentally stable is what I'm trying to say. And that is a huge positive impact on me personally, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people as well. Yeah, mental health during quarantine times is a weird thing to navigate. We really can only do our best, and I'm definitely trying to do my best here when it comes to my mental health, as well as my productivity, my happiness, my positive outlook on life, and being as in control of my situation as I possibly can be. And I would definitely love to hear how you're doing. Seriously, are you coping well? Are you not coping well? What are you doing to cope well? Or what's happening that isn't allowing you to cope well? Are there any steps that you're trying to take to, have a more positive outlook on this? Or is this just completely engulfing your life? Any and all comments, any and all experiences, I would love it if you would share yours. I've shared mine. If you would like to share yours, I would love to read it. So please do, if you want to leave a comment in the comments down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to a podcast, I understand now that you can't leave a comment. I didn't know that like literally the first 4 episodes, but if you do want to leave a comment, I do have everything linked in the description. So I have the Instagram linked in the description. I even have the email linked in the description. So please do send some form of communication, if you would like to, about how you're coping or how you're doing during quarantine. Because I know that everybody is going through a different, even though we're all going through this together, everybody is at a different mental state. So if you're doing really, really well, if you're doing somewhere in the middle, or if you're doing really crappy, I would love if you could share that, if you're open to it, and I'll definitely reply. So yeah, just let me know. Anyways, I appreciate you for watching this and listening to this. That is all I have for today. I will see you during the next episode next week. Peace. Now I'm going to do that one again. That was weird. What were my hands doing? You know what? I'm just going to start it all over again. I'm going to start all over again.